In my last video, I talked about how prices are going to fall in real estate, but in this video, we're going to talk about an article that Bankrate released that talks about why haven't they fallen. In fact, they talk about that nationally, prices have gone up 4.4% in 2023, when we were expecting a big correction because we had price increases for 3 years straight during the COVID pandemic. So what happened? And although we had a drastic slowdown in 2023, specifically it kind of started near the middle of 2022, where we had a major slowdown of how many people were buying homes. But somehow, how did prices go up 4.4% at a time when things were slowing down? Now combine that with our interest rates, when interest rates went from around 4% to 7%, so the cost of ownership went up drastically once again. How is this possible? And by the way, my name is Maciek Zaremba. I'm a real estate agent in Sarasota, Florida. And right now I'm at Braden River Park, beautiful park here where there's lots of baseball going on. There's lots of teams playing right now and lots of fields here for practice and games. It's a nice park off of State Road 70 in Bradenton, Florida. Well, let's get into this Bankrate article. And I wanted to say one other thing about my last video, talking about how real estate prices are going to come down. This data to me shows that I'm on the right track, that indeed they will be coming down. And they kind of should have by now, but why haven't they? So let's talk about it. First, they mention that we are at 23-year highs with interest rates. Literally for 23 years, interest rates have not been this high, which means that the monthly cost for the buyers is the most expensive. For every $100,000 of borrowed money, you're going to be paying more now, the highest amount in 23 years. And although they fell just slightly about a month and a half ago, they're kind of creeping back up this month already, which frankly is no surprise to me. Damn, this water here is kind of like perfect gator territory. Got to watch my step over here. Now, according to the National Association of Realtors, the median existing home prices went up 4.4% year over year. And keep in mind that these are resales. These are not new construction properties. The new construction, they like to exclude out of these reports, but still it shows that nationwide things have gone up. Now, I'll tell you, just in my area, Sarasota and Manatee County, prices have come down very slightly, but they've come down. And now to back up some of their data, the Case-Shiller Home Price Index represented a 4.8% increase in the month of October, which was 9 months in a row of gain. And you want to know, what is the culprit? Why is it that this is happening? And number one, the first thing they say is a lack of inventory. That means a lack of homes for sale. And I do see that. There was a definite shortage in the housing supply. And I can only speak for my area and for state of Florida in general. And that is changing. It is going up now. Finally, it's going up. It's been going up for about a year straight for us. And in Sarasota and Manatee counties, it's been going up double digits month over month over month. We are now at double the inventory that we were. And regarding inventory, the national average for the month of December 2023 was a 3.2 month supply. Now, if you put that into perspective, like, what does this mean really? Here's what it means, is that we don't have enough houses for sale because what we want to see is a 5.5 to 6 months of inventory. So nationally speaking, we are at a shortage. But locally for Sarasota and Manatee County, we have excess supply. But locally for Sarasota and Manatee counties, we do not have that problem. We are actually just about to approach the 5.5 months of inventory. And you also have to take into account the type of sellers, because luxury sellers, well, there's a lot of those. And I mean over $1 million in our state. There's so many homes for sale over 1 million, but under 1 million, or even under 500,000, there's a shortage of homes, and we're still not there. But locally and in general in Florida, we do have quite a bit of inventory hitting the market. And inventory is a leading indicator. That means that if inventory goes down, it's going to be the first metric that you see. And then once it's down, then the later metric will be that prices start going up. So the reverse is also true. As inventory goes up, then that's the first indicator. And then the lagging indicator are going to be prices. So once again, this shows me that we have a price problem coming up around the corner. Probably 4, 5, 6 months from now, we're going to start seeing slight declines. And then 12 months from now, it's going to be significant. So listen, you buyers out there for single family homes, maybe just hold off a little bit. Now, I know I'm a real estate agent and I should be trying to sell you, but I'm here to tell you the truth. I'm here to tell you the reality, or at least my reality. I may be wrong. I don't know. Make your own decisions. And look, if you need a house to live in, I mean, you should buy something, you know? Don't wait and sit on the sidelines with nowhere to live. And in this article, we also had a little comment from Mr. Rick Arvell. He's the head of the mortgage firm New American Funding, and he says you are not going to see house prices decline. I do not agree with you, Rick. I really think we will see home prices decline, and it's not going to be necessarily in the first or second quarter, but you're gonna see them come down, at least in Florida. This is Florida Real Estate TV. This channel is not about the national numbers, it's all about the Florida numbers. And to back up Rick, we have a Zillow representative. Skylar, Olsen, chief economist at Zillow, says that he's pretty much right, that due to housing inventory being so low, we're gonna see more prices come up. And that's just what they're predicting for 2024. And nationally speaking, that is possibly and probably true. But locally speaking, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have prices come down. I'd say in December of 2024, our numbers are probably going to be about 10% lower than January 2024. Let's wait and see how that turns out. So now what if you're a seller? What should you do? It depends where, okay? If you're a seller in Florida, in Sarasota, Florida, where inventory is rising really quickly, well, you may want to list and price it to sell because things are not moving as fast as they were and inventory is increasing all the time. So you're going to have a lot more competition 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 90 days from now. Do you want to compete with more people or less people? That's what you have to ask yourself. And what if you're a buyer? Should you just wait and see if these interest rates come down like the Fed is saying they're going to do? Now, the Fed said they're only going to have 3 interest rate declines in 2024. And then the stock market is pricing in that we're going to have 6 in the next 18 months. So, you know, maybe we might have that, I don't know. But if you're going to try to time the market and try to time the lowest interest rate possible, keep in mind that a lot of people are going to be trying to do that. And whenever there's a timing of the market situation happening, a lot of people, what they do is they just try to be one step ahead of it. So they'll buy just before it's the perfect time and they'll win, because they're going to have less competition and they're going to have an interest rate that is very, very favorable to them. Not necessarily the most favorable, but it's going to be pretty good. Oh, look at this. Got a little beach here. Now, taking all of this in account, you know, the analysts agree that we're not going to have a market correction that's going to be crazy. It's just going to be a modest one. That's what they're saying. And one thing that I do agree with in this article is that they're saying that no one expects price drops on the scale of the declines experienced during the Great Recession. If you were not around during the Great Recession, which was like 2008 timeframe, the local prices that I saw happening were equivalent to the 1980s and 1990s. That's how far it went back. So homes were at about 50% off. Now, the next part of the article tries to answer the question, is the housing market going to crash? The first word they say is no. I agree. We're not going to crash. We're going to come down, but we're not going to crash. But Florida, local Florida, we're going to come down quite a bit, probably 10%, 15%, maybe even 20%. I don't expect anything bigger than that. And mind you, we went up about 50 to 75% in the last 3 years. So anyone that bought before then is sitting on pretty hefty equity. And they're basically saying that there are still more buyers than there are sellers. And nationwide, yeah, that's true. There are more buyers than sellers. On a local level, that's about to be not true. And it still is true today, but it's about to be not true in the next couple of months. There will be more sellers than buyers. In the luxury space, this is not correct. There are already more sellers than buyers, a lot more sellers than buyers. Now, they are mentioning something that I haven't talked about, saying that there's an entire generation of pent-up demand. And I don't know the exact numbers. I think that within 10 years from now, we're really gonna have that. I just look at my kids who are 17 and 18, and there is no way with current income levels, that average income levels that you can get, that they can actually afford a property. I bought my first property at 21 years old, and it was $52,000, and I was making $9.50 an hour, and I was able to qualify based on that. That was literally just 30% more than minimum wage at the time. And if you make 30% more than minimum wage, you can't even rent. You can't even rent a room. You can't even have a vehicle. Like, there's nothing you can do at that kind of price. So the pent-up demand is real. That's a real thing. They cannot afford to buy a property because the wages have not gone up as fast as the prices. And now with higher interest rates, it's even more expensive to purchase, at least a monthly payment. And if the interest rates fall and those people that have that pent-up demand decide to buy, well, they're still going to be dealing with a very expensive home. They're just going to have a slightly lower payment. But I do side with Barbara Corcoran, because she says the sooner you buy, the sooner you're in the game. And I really do agree with that. Now, maybe it'll be different in 20 years, but when I purchased 20 some odd years ago, it was the perfect time to buy, because it even crashed since then. Things went down. You know, the $50,000 condo that I purchased went to 100 and then went back down to 50. But it was still a really, really good decision to buy back then, because I had to have a place to live. That was a lot better than renting. But the pent-up demand will be even higher in 10 years, in 5 to 10 years than it is right now. And if at any point in time in that next decade, interest rates come down, there's going to be a point where prices will start coming up again. And I don't mean 4.4% or whatever they said. I mean real significant increases like we had during the pandemic. And regardless of what happens with interest rates in the next coming years, one thing I'm very confident in, that we're not going to have a crash like we had during the Great Recession. The majority of the homes that were sold, literally over 50% of the homes that were sold in Florida during this last 3-4 year run-up since COVID started, were purchased in cash. Now, last time during the Great Recession, those purchases were not cash. Those were loans, and those loans defaulted. And then everyone lost money, and then the banks got bailed out even though they didn't need the money. I saw a great documentary on that. And a lot of investors lost money, and a lot of pension funds lost money, and of course people, just the regular people who bought homes, whether it's for themselves or on speculation, lost money. Because the majority of the homes then were leveraged. They had loans on them. Now, we have a lot less homes with loans than we did back then. We have so many snowbirds that purchased homes with cash, sold their homes in New York or up northeast or from the West Coast, and just came with cash because homes were so cheap compared to their homes back home. And then the prices went up. So not only did they buy it at a great time, they also earned a lot of equity. Their equity position grew so much. So if prices come down 30%, which I do not see happening, they're still sitting in a pretty good place where they're not even going to lose money. They're just going to, you know, if they have to sell or if they pass away and an estate sells their property, you know, they're still going to be in a pretty nice, comfortable position, or at least the heirs will. If you haven't watched my video on why home prices will be falling, take a look. Click this thing right now.